There's a stretch of road in southwestern Minnesota where the fields run flat to the horizon. No streetlights, no houses for miles, just gravel and darkness and silence. On a night like that, in May of 2008, a 19-year-old named Brandon Swanson drove his car into a ditch. He called his parents. He stayed on the line for 47 minutes. Then he said 2 words, and then there was silence. That silence has lasted 17 years. What happens when someone vanishes mid-sentence? When they're talking to their own parents, and then they're just... Tonight, we walk the same fields Brandon walked. We trace the path the dogs traced, and we ask the question that has no answer. What made him say, "Oh shit"? No body, no phone, no trace, just 2 words and 17 years of darkness. Brandon Victor Swanson was 19 years old in May of 2008. He'd just finished his first year at Minnesota West Community and Technical College in Canby. He was a wind energy student. Quiet, reliable. The kind of kid who called his parents when he got into trouble, instead of trying to handle it alone. The night of May 13th, he went to a small party in Canby. Nothing wild. A few friends, some drinks. The kind of night that happens every weekend in every small town. Around midnight, Brandon decided to drive home to Marshall. It was only about 30 miles. He'd made the drive dozens of times before. Sometime after 1 in the morning, Brandon's car left the road. According to later investigation, the vehicle went into a ditch on a rural gravel road. The car wasn't badly damaged. Brandon wasn't hurt. But the ditch was deep enough that he couldn't drive out. And it was dark enough that he couldn't see where he was. At approximately 1:30 a.m., Brandon called his parents, Brian and Annette Swanson. He told them he'd driven into a ditch and needed a ride home. Brandon believed he was near Lynd, Minnesota, a small town about 5 miles from his parents' home in Marshall. His parents got in their car to find him, but Brandon's parents couldn't find him. They drove to Lynd. They searched the roads around it. No sign of his car. No sign of him. They stayed on the phone with him the entire time. Cell phone records would later reveal the truth. Brandon wasn't near Lynd at all. He was near Porter, Minnesota, 25 miles away from where he believed he was. Think about that. In the dark, on unmarked rural roads, Brandon was so turned around that he was an entire town away from where he thought he was. And he had no idea. When his parents couldn't find the car, Brandon decided to walk. He told them he could see lights in the distance. He thought it was Lynd. He started walking toward them. Brandon stayed on the phone with his parents for 47 minutes while walking through those fields. 47 minutes of conversation, of trying to describe landmarks that didn't match anything his parents knew. He described fences he was crossing, fields he was walking through, a river he thought he could hear. None of it matched the area around Lynd. At approximately 2:17 a.m., Brandon was mid-sentence talking to his father, Brian. Then he said 2 words. "Oh, shit." Those were his last words. The call didn't disconnect. The line stayed open. But Brandon never spoke again. His parents called his name for minutes. Nothing. Just silence. What made him say those words? We don't know. That question has been asked 10,000 times over 17 years, and no one has ever found an answer. When Brandon's parents called police that morning, they were told to wait. Officers said it wasn't uncommon for young men to disappear for a few days. They'd probably hear from him soon. But the Swansons knew their son. Brandon wasn't the type to disappear. Something was wrong. They went looking themselves. Brandon's car was eventually found. Not near Lynd, but near Porter, exactly where cell records indicated he had been. The car was locked. Nothing appeared disturbed. Searches began in earnest. Volunteers scoured fields. Helicopters flew overhead. Dive teams checked ponds and waterways. They found nothing. Then they brought in the bloodhounds. And the dogs found something. A scent trail. Brandon's scent trail, leading away from where his car had been found. The dogs traced Brandon's path for approximately 3 miles through fields and farmland. The trail led to an abandoned farm, then along the Yellow Medicine River. And then, at a point along the river, the trail entered the water. The dogs lost the scent. The search had nowhere else to go. The Yellow Medicine River isn't particularly deep in most places. In May, the water would have been cold, maybe 40 degrees, cold enough to kill someone within minutes if they fell in and couldn't get out. But here's what doesn't fit. Despite exhaustive searches of the river and surrounding area, no body was ever recovered. No clothing. No phone. Not even Brandon's glasses. Brandon wore glasses. He needed them to see. If he fell in water, if there was a struggle, if anything happened, how did his glasses disappear so completely? The searches continued for weeks, then months, then years. Divers returned. New technology was deployed. The fields and riverbanks have been searched more times than anyone can count. Nothing. In 17 years, not a single piece of physical evidence has surfaced. No clothing caught on a fence. No bones exposed by erosion. Nothing. Theories have emerged over the years. The most common: Brandon fell into the river and drowned. The current carried his body to a location that was never searched. But 17 years is a long time. Rivers reveal their secrets eventually. Bodies surface. Bones appear. The land doesn't keep secrets forever. Or so we think. Other theories are darker. Some investigators have wondered if Brandon encountered someone that night. If his "oh shit" wasn't about falling. It was about seeing something. There's no evidence of foul play, no witnesses, no suspects. But the absence of evidence has its own terrible weight. Some have suggested Brandon disappeared voluntarily, that he staged the accident and started a new life somewhere else. But his family knows that doesn't match who he was. He had no reason to vanish, no legal troubles, no relationship problems, no debts. He was a teenager finishing his first year of college, making plans for summer, looking forward to life. In the years since, Brandon's parents have worked to ensure other families don't face the same obstacles they did. They lobbied the Minnesota legislature for change. In 2008, Minnesota passed Brandon's law. It requires law enforcement to immediately begin investigations when adults are reported missing. No more waiting. No more assumptions. If someone you love goes missing, know your rights. In Minnesota and many other states, law enforcement must begin investigating immediately. You don't have to wait 48 hours. That's a myth. When you travel alone, especially at night, share your location with someone you trust. Your phone can do this automatically. It takes 30 seconds to set up, and it could be the difference. And remember, your perceived location and your actual location can be very different. Brandon thought he was near Lynd. He was near Porter, 25 miles away. The dark plays tricks on us all. If you're ever lost at night, stay with your vehicle. Brandon's car was his best landmark. If he'd stayed with it, his parents might have found him. The lights he walked toward weren't salvation. I keep thinking about those 47 minutes. Almost an hour of conversation, of a son talking to his parents, trying to describe where he was, trying to find his way home. What did they talk about? What did Brandon see that he couldn't identify? What was he feeling? Frustration, embarrassment, fear. We know he kept walking. We know he didn't give up. And then, oh shit. 2 words. The kind of thing you say when you trip, or when you see something unexpected, or when you realize you've made a terrible mistake. The line stayed open. His parents heard nothing. No splash, no scream, no voice calling for help. Just silence, sudden and complete. I don't know what happened to Brandon Swanson. No one does. The earth swallowed him, and it hasn't given him back. His parents still search. Every year, on the anniversary, volunteers return to walk the fields. Hope is not the same as expectation, but the Swansons have never stopped hoping. If this kind of story stays with you, if you want to hear more about cases like Brandon's, consider subscribing. We tell stories that matter, stories that deserve to be remembered. 17 years. That's long enough for a child to be born, to grow up, to graduate high school. Brandon would be 36 now. We don't know who he might have become. There's a stretch of road in southwestern Minnesota where the fields run flat to the horizon. Somewhere out there, the answer to what happened waits. Brandon Swanson called his parents for help on a dark night in May. He talked to them for 47 minutes. Then he said, "Oh shit," and the world has been silent ever since. Somewhere in that silence, there's a story that still needs to be told. When it finally emerges, we'll be here to tell it.